Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our tactical breakdown series, a show in which we look at players in an analytical and statistical way. And also now you're seeing a lot more of these Q&A type shows step up and give you the best information on different types of players, matches, etc, etc. And for today's show, we're going to be taking a really good look at Arsenal's brand new signing, Kieran Tierney. Now, if you're enjoying the series, please of course give it a like. Please subscribe if you're new with those notifications turned on so you can join in some of our live chats and our live shows. There's plenty of live shows that we do very regularly, and getting into that live chat, you can get your chance to obviously be on the show, putting up your comments and getting involved and getting me and the guys answering your questions. So it's great. And obviously leave a comment in the comment section below. Tell me what you think of Kieran Tierney. Is he the guy that you wanted? How happy are you that it's done? Because the comments are always great. But I'm really happy because I'm joined once again by Brian McVeigh of ReadCeltic, who is obviously a really fantastic writer all about Celtic and their football and Scottish football as well. And so he's joined me to do a Q&A session very similar to what we've done in the past, and he's going to be answering loads of questions to do with Kieran Tierney. So let's jump right in and talk about Kieran Tierney. So we're going to start it off saying that we've remained in contact throughout the summer, both me and Brian, and since we joined Brian earlier on in the season, now the deal has happened. What's Brian's initial reaction to Kieran Tierney signing for Arsenal?
Hi, good evening. Brian McVeigh here. Done some work for ReadCeltic, and I've also done some previous discussions with Tom on the Kieran Tierney transfer saga as it was, but it's now over. And my initial reaction, bittersweet. Celtic fans across the country are not happy, but he has gone for a huge sum of money. It's a record fee for a Scottish club and a player. I think the biggest transfer fee from anybody going out of Scotland from a Scottish player's point of view was something like £6 million. So this is an unbelievable transfer fee for Celtic. It might not be for Arsenal, but it is for us. It's inevitable. The build-up is coming. So unfortunately it's happened. We've still got time to correct it in the transfer window, so that's not too bad. We've still got 3 weeks to go up here before the window closes, so that's not too bad, and we've got the money now to go and hopefully replace him. And it's a lot, for me, I'm proud that a young man who's come through the ranks at Celtic has joined a massive club down in England for a huge fee. It doesn't happen up here that often. There's been links with different players in the past. Scott Brown, James Forrest have all been linked, but Kieran Tierney now is gone, and I'm proud that a player who's come through the academy has now made his way down to Arsenal for a huge fee. So that's my initial reaction.
I've seen a lot of reactions on social media from Celtic fans, and they've been on the whole quite vitriolic and quite animated at how disappointed they are. So the fact that Brian there tells us that he's proud and actually they're very appreciative about the amount of money that Celtic are getting. It's a huge fee, as Brian says, a record in Scotland, and there is time for them to replace Tierney. They're linked with a Brentford left back at the moment, and hopefully he could come in. Obviously they signed Bolingoli from Rapid Vienna, but didn't look too good in their pre-season game that I managed to catch some of recently, so hopefully they can get an improvement on that. But it's great to see the deal happen, and obviously there is a caveat to this, is that the fitness of Kieran Tierney has been in constant question ever since we were linked to him. There were rumours he was out for 8 weeks. That's been rubbished. But I want to ask Brian very simply, that many Arsenal fans are concerned about the injuries Tierney has sustained. Can you enlighten us to how bad these are, and if we should expect to see regular occurrences of these injuries in the future?
Moving on to injuries, I don't think you should be too concerned, to be honest. I think he had a bad season last year, but he still played 40 games for Celtic. He was nursing a hernia stroke hip injury for a long time and missed a lot of football last year, but he still came back and played through the pain barrier on countless occasions when he probably shouldn't have. But he's had that addressed. He had that operation at the end of May, and double hernia op. And for me, I don't think that's going to cause any problem going forward. If it's now done, and he should have gone through his recovery, then that's fine, because he was actually going to join the first team training next week, according to the manager. So I don't think you're going to see any recurrences of that injury. I don't think he'll play for another 3-4 weeks, because he's not had a pre-season yet. So I don't know how quickly he'll join up with the actual squad. But I don't think long term there's going to be any concerns for Arsenal fans over his fitness.
That's really fantastic news. Obviously, a lot of Arsenal fans have been so concerned that they actually got to the point where they were thinking maybe Arsenal should go for someone else in this transfer window because of how injured he has been in the past, and obviously going through an operation. But Brian there has easily put myself, and I'm hopefully a lot of the viewers watching at home, at ease about that. It is going to be a shame that we won't see him for a bit, but I think we've got enough quality in the Arsenal side in Kolasinac and of course in Monreal to cover that position. Kolasinac, I can imagine, is still going to fight tooth and nail with Tierney for that role. And so it's great that we've got some real competition in that area moving forwards. On to the next question. When he's playing, obviously it's very clear he's a very talented player, but what are Kieran Tierney's key strengths?
So you pay £25 million for a player and you're thinking, what are his strengths? Some of you may not have seen him play, but he loves to attack. He's actually more of a winger in some of his style of play. He can go past defenders using just sheer strength and pace. He actually just knocks the ball past him and runs. Very quick over 5 to 10 yards. He'll get the better of most defenders. Links up very well. I don't know how Arsenal's attack's going to play in the upcoming season, with who's going to be on the left hand side, I'm not sure, but whoever that is will work with him. He made a great relationship with Scot Sinclair over the last 2 or 3 years. The two of them were terrific in doing little 1-2s, but he loves to bomb past it, get into the box, cross. He can shoot. He scored some goals from outside the box. I'm sure some of you have seen the goal he scored up at Aberdeen, where he ran 80 yards from his own box, got on the end of a pass and slammed it into the bottom corner, and he then ran all the way back to his own fans to celebrate. He's got a fantastic attitude. His tackling's terrific. He's very strong. If you watch him 3 or 4 years ago when he first came into the team, he was like a pencil, but now he's built really well. So that's a huge strength for him. And he's got terrific will to win and desire, because he's won so much up here. The pressure to win is unbelievable for Celtic at the moment, and he's come through it, and I think you're going to see the benefits of that at Arsenal.
My God, if he was a stick a few years ago, he must have been invisible. It might just be me. I just thought he looked so skinny in those pictures that he took in the new Arsenal kit. Maybe it's because he was up against Rob Holding and Lacazette when I saw the pictures. They're obviously two quite bulky players, and maybe that made him look skinnier. But clearly it's not affected him, and that's great, because as Brian says there, the way he wins the ball back, his defending, his athleticism, the way he gets back and defends, his tackling's good, as Brian says. And of course going forwards, we know all about that at Arsenal. Kolasinac gets forward all day, but the way his defensive game, the Bosnian, is a lot weaker, so we can actually improve on that with Tierney. That is going to be so good for Arsenal moving forwards. But there is no positives without some negatives in some areas, and it's always important to try and find out what they are so that we can improve on them. So quite simply, Brian, tell me what his drawbacks are.
Now, weaknesses, I don't really want to talk down a player when he's just, earned the club £25 million, and there isn't a massive list to really go through. He does get forward, as I've just said in the previous answer there. He loves to go forward, so perhaps he may get caught out from time to time. I don't know if there's much else. He's perhaps not as good in the air as you would like for a defender. He's not big in terms of height. He's built well, but he's not a 6'2" defender. But I don't think you want that from a fullback. You want someone who's good on the ball, can make a tackle, can read the game. He may not be brilliant at getting on the end of headers. So possibly if Arsenal are coming under attack aerially from maybe a lower team, or a team who likes to play more direct, he could come in to a little bit of scrutiny there. So we'll watch out for that. But I'm sure Emery has got. I'm sure he is a very good manager defensively, so he'll work on that. So not really much to go on there, so well done.
One of the key things that when I've noticed doing these videos and getting the opinions of many experts across, whether it's Regani, whether it's Pepe, whoever we were linked to, so many players that didn't happen and also did, which is great, is that the weakness side of it was definitely something that was a detailed and thorough explanation by plenty. But what Brian's got there is a goldmine, because there isn't too much to talk about. Yes, he goes forward, but it's hard to say that he might get caught out because his athleticism is so good at getting back, as I've already mentioned. Yes, his height might not be great, but actually when we did the tactical breakdown, his aerial duel statistics were good. So that doesn't concern me at all. It sounds like he can't do a thing wrong right now, but we're going to have to wait and see. The biggest drawback that I think I can identify is obviously the injuries, but from what Brian said earlier, maybe that's not something we need to talk about. So the next question, quite simply, is £25 million is obviously a Scottish record. We've covered that a little bit by Brian, but how do you see, or do you see this being a bargain? What type of fee would you have expected to see if Tierney would have been sold from a Premier League side?
Now, this fee of £25 million, it's not a lot of money for English football anymore. It is for Scotland. It's a record breaker. Where do I see him in relation to other players who have been signed down in the English Premier League, like Wan-Bissaka, for example, who's had one really good season, admittedly, but nothing much else, and he's sold for 50 million quid. You've got other players who have been sold for that amount of money. I think if he was playing for an English team, he would go for probably double what he's gone for. It is a bargain, I think, for Arsenal. I think that's what you get when there is always the risk because he's playing in a less competitive league. But the difference is with him, he's playing for a team who have overachieved and who are at the top of their game north of the border, so they have pressure on him to win every week. He's played in Europe, he's played internationally as well, so a left back at 22 years old for £25 million is really, really good value. But if he was English or Italian and he had was playing for Southampton or for Burnley or whatever, then you'd probably go for £40–50 million, in my opinion, of course.
It might just be your opinion, Brian, but as far as I'm concerned, it's nailed on. He'd be going for so much more money if he was playing for a Premier League side. As Burnley, as Brian uses as an example, you're looking at £40–50 million, 22 years old, with statistics and so few drawbacks that we've looked at. The way we've done this deal, and again, you have to credit obviously the director in Raul Sanllehi to get this done, is a huge credit to them, and it's absolutely fantastic deal. So the money is right. It's sorted us out with other deals going on around Arsenal in terms of outgoings. It seems an absolute cheap one for us. Final question then, in terms of what we're going to talk about with Kieran Tierney, is more of a nostalgic one. It says Arsenal have had a strong history of Scottish players. Charlie Nicholas, George Graham and Frank McClintock, just to name a few, but they've not had an established Scot in the lineup for quite some time. Where do you predict Tierney will rate amongst his fellow countrymen?
I think Kieran has got the potential to be as good, as big a favourite with the fans as Charlie. I think Charlie Nicholas is more a cult hero because of the style, the long hair and the earring and all that he had, and he liked the kind of champagne lifestyle. I think Kieran he's a dedicated footballer, and he's got a really, really down-to-earth attitude, and I think he will work his absolute socks off for Arsenal and could be regarded, hopefully, in the same vein that Liverpool fans will look at Andy Robertson now. Similar type of attitude, very determined young man. So I think he's got that potential, and I hope that he does. I think he's got a great head on his shoulders, and the Arsenal fans will take to him hugely, and we will miss him dearly at Celtic.
A huge thank you to Brian McVeigh. You can find him on Twitter at BrianMcVeigh7. I think he's been an absolutely great speaker and talking about Kieran Tierney. I can't think of anything else the fans might want to know about him, so I think the education that Brian you've given us is great, so thank you ever so much for that. Of course, please do go check him out on ReadCeltic, which you can find out a lot about Scottish football there. Just to sort of summarise then, it's a great deal for Arsenal. It's fantastic. It's good to have another British player in the team. We'd lost a couple, obviously Aaron Ramsey going to Juventus was huge. but maybe we've signed someone who can be another British hero in this side. I can't wait to see what he does. I'm sure you can't too. But that's going to round up our breakdown of Kieran Tierney. Finally, it's done. We're so happy it has. Thank you for tuning in. If you've enjoyed the show, of course, please give it a like. Please follow us on Twitter at the Gooner Talk TV. Follow Brian McVeigh, please do, at Brian McVeigh 7. And obviously subscribe to us here so you can get some even more content. There's plenty going on about David Luiz, plenty going on with podcasts in terms of transfers. There's going to be loads coming in, don't worry. They're going to keep you absolutely filled to the brim with content. And of course, please turn those notifications on so you can join us in our live chats as well. I really hope you've enjoyed the show. I'll see you again very soon. I'm just so buzzing. You can hear the excitement in my voice because I'm absolutely buzzing about it. So thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, and most importantly, up the Arsenal. Welcome, Kieran Tierney.